Well, hello everybody out there, and welcome to another episode of Movie Passion. And in today's video, I want to talk about a really nice and fun movie from the 90s, a movie that some people might consider a guilty pleasure because many people are criticizing that movie for being like crazy and ridiculous and silly. But I really like this movie. It's really fun and enjoyable movie to watch. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about Hackers. So, what is this movie all about? Well, the main story of the movie sounds very boring or, yeah, not really that interesting. It's basically about a group of hackers that is being punished for a crime they didn't commit. And now they want to uncover that crime and prove that they are innocent. It doesn't really sound like much, but it is really interesting. So let's get a little bit deeper into the story. So there is this group of hackers, and there is this one kid who I assume is kind of like a newbie. His name is Joey. For some reason, he never really gets any credits from his friends. They always put him down, they always criticize him for not knowing certain things. It's kind of not really fair when you really think about it, especially in this one scene where they all sit on a table. I mean, everything that Date has done at this point is he managed to assign himself to a class that he isn't supposed to be in, and he also managed to hack into the school computer to activate the automated sprinkler test. But Joey managed to hack a bank, and he caused an ATM machine to spew out some money onto the street, which is, yeah, it's actually pretty cool. But the others basically just criticize him for doing it from home. And yes, maybe doing it from home, from your own home, is not really the smartest thing because that's how you're gonna get caught. That's how you end up in prison. But it still is a lot cooler, or it requires a lot more skill to hack a bank than hacking into the school system to activate an automated sprinkler test. But for some reason, they still decided to put Joey down, kind of. And then they start talking about how cool it would be if you would hack a Gibson. So, a Gibson is apparently like the computer system of a big industrial company. There is usually a lot of high level security. So if you would manage to hack into one of those computers, that would prove that you are a real hacker, that you are real lead. And yeah, that's the point when Joey starts to think, okay, if this is what it takes to finally get some credit or some appreciation from my friends, then that's what I'm going to have to do. And he goes out and decides to do exactly that. And he managed to do that. He managed to hack a Gibson. And, this is the point where things start to get a little bit crazy because, first of all, they talk about how incredibly difficult it is to hack a Gibson and how much security there is and how many different security barriers or whatever. But then the movie makes it look as if Joey only managed to hack the Gibson because of a very stupid and very, very insecure password. And, I'm not a hacker, but I assume that passwords are probably the least of your concerns if you want to hack a Gibson, right? I mean, there are other things, other barriers that are probably a lot more difficult than cracking a password. But yeah, Joey managed to hack this computer from this oil company named Alex and Minerals, and now he needs some proof that he actually did it. So he needs something that he could show his friends. So he decides to just copy some garbage files because he thinks, okay, I'm probably not going to get into any trouble just by copying some garbage files. But unfortunately, little does he know that the head of IT security from this company, named Eugene Belfort, yeah, that was his name, that he has actually hidden a worm in those garbage files. And that worm is apparently a computer program that is taking small amounts of money from every transaction that this company does and transfers that money to a different bank account without anybody noticing. So, yeah, it's like a hidden program that is slowly but surely stealing huge amounts of money from this company. Yeah, when Eugene realized, oh shit, that hacker has copied those garbage files and therefore also this worm, that's when he realized that he is in trouble because it's possible that somebody could uncover his secret and that he could get in real trouble. But unfortunately for him, even though they managed to trace the call back so they know who did it, who hacked the Gibson, this isn't enough. Copying some garbage files apparently isn't big enough of a crime to actually go and confiscate this computer and to search all those computer files for those garbage files. They can't really do that, apparently. So that's when Eugene comes up with this really crazy plan to create a virus called the Da Vinci virus and infect some oil tankers with that virus. And that virus could apparently cause, if the virus is being activated, it would cause the oil tankers to fill their tanks and sink, which would be a huge disaster. As if that wouldn't be enough, he also includes some kind of a ransom note in that virus. Now he claims that hacker has implanted that virus. So now that is enough to go and confiscate his computer and search through all his files and search his hard drive. But they didn't really find anything. They also didn't find those garbage files because Joey copied those files onto a disk and he has hidden the disk in some kind of a vent in his room. Now this is the point where things kind of stop making sense in a way because there is also this, I don't know, security agent or whatever he is, Agent Gill. He is handing Eugene a folder or a file about this hacker named Dade Murphy that I already mentioned briefly earlier on the video. And he was apparently like a big hacker named Zero Cool in the late 80s. And all of a sudden, this is like the prime suspect. Why? Doesn't really make any sense. And by the way, I also really like Eugene's reaction when that agent is giving him that file because he really acts like, ooh, a hard copy. It's kind of like, ugh, this is real paper. Do I have to touch this now? I don't like physical things. I only like things that are digital. It's like so crazy. And it just shows you how crazy this movie is. But yeah, apparently Dade is now their prime suspect. Why? Only because he used to be a hacker back in 1988? What exactly, how did they think about Dade at this point? Why is he now the prime suspect? And also the thing is this, Joey hacked into the computer system and they traced the call back so they knew that it was Joey. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, even though they knew that he hacked into the system, apparently that wasn't enough to go and search through his stuff. That's why Eugene had to create that virus so they could actually go and search through his stuff. But now they got absolutely nothing on Dade. Absolutely nothing. But for some reason, they are allowed to go to his place and trash his stuff and search through all his things. Why? How is that possible? How is it possible that you can't search somebody's stuff even though you have proof that he hacked into the system and copied some files, but you can go and search somebody's stuff and trash his stuff even though you have absolutely no proof or any evidence that this person is even remotely involved in any of this? How does this make any sense? It just doesn't, right? It doesn't make any sense. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so he thinks that Date is like the prime suspect for whatever reason. Maybe he thinks, okay, Date is like such a huge, well known hacker. Maybe eventually everything comes to him, including that disk with those garbage files. I don't know if that's what he thinks, but yeah, apparently Date is now the prime suspect. And then Joey decides to go out and meet one of his friends, Freak, and he's giving Freak the disk with those garbage files. But he's under surveillance. So there are those agents that are watching every step that Joey takes. And now they are after Freak because now he has the disk, where they think that this disk would contain the virus. But Freak managed to hide the disk before he got arrested. And again, the question is, how is it possible that they could just break into his apartment and just forcefully arrest him without any proof or any evidence whatsoever? I mean, the only evidence that they have is the fact that Joey gave him a disk. But they don't have any proof what's on that disk. They just assume that it contained the virus, but they don't have any proof. And since Freak has hidden the disk, they also don't really have the disk. So how can they arrest how could they arrest Freak, even though they have no proof that he actually has the virus now? It just doesn't really make sense, does it? I mean, yes, I know that sometimes people are being framed, but you can't just arrest somebody if you don't have any proof for anything. I mean, getting a disk from your friend, that's not a crime. As long as you can't prove what's on that disk, that's not a crime. I mean, what is about, the whole movie totally ignores the concept of innocent until proven guilty. They just assume, okay, you are a hacker, therefore you are guilty. We are just going to arrest you. Except Joey, he's the only one we can't arrest, maybe because he's too young, but we can't even go and search his stuff unless, we create some kind of a crazy virus. It's so bizarre. Yeah, now Eugene still thinks that Date is like the prime suspect for whatever reason. And now he is threatening Date. So he says, okay, if you don't give me that disk, I'm going to arrest your mom. I can do that. I could change some files into a computer system and your mom could get arrested. So give me that disk. So now he's starting to threaten somebody without any proof that this person even has anything to do with it. It's so crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, what if Date would have never met those people? What then? What is he supposed to do at this point? It's kind of like a witch trial of some sort. And yeah, at this point, you probably already realize, okay, we are so late into the movie, but the main character hasn't even done anything remotely significant yet at this point. I mean, the only other thing that he tried was trying to get together with Kate, even though she already has a boyfriend, which is also kind of like a dick move when you think about it. He wants to be with Kate, even though he knows that she already has a boyfriend. not very cool. Why should we like that? I don't know. It's kind of like a dick move if you try to steal someone else's girlfriend. But yeah, at this point, you could already talk about the whole relationship thing because I know it's not really possible to steal somebody because, Kate is a real person with her own opinion and a free will. So you can't just steal her away from her boyfriend. I mean, she can decide who she wants to be with. And if she wants to be with Curtis, there's basically nothing you can do to quote unquote steal her. But yeah, the thing is also this: we don't know how serious that relationship with Curtis really was. For some reason, Curtis has never confronted Dade about this whole situation. He never said, hey, back off, man. This is my girlfriend. Go get your own girlfriend. He never said that. And later on, he also apparently never tried to win Kate back. He just disappeared, which suggests that maybe their relationship wasn't really that serious. So, yeah, maybe it was just having fun, fooling around, but nothing serious, nothing major. I don't know, but it's kind of a weird thing when you think about it. But yeah, back to the main plot of the movie. So now Dade is calling or contacting Eugene because Kate came to him with the disc. So he said, okay, she doesn't know what's on it, she has nothing to do with it, but Eugene wants that disc because this is also another thing that doesn't really make sense. Why does Eugene want to get this disc? What does he want to do with it? Destroy the disc, hoping that he could destroy evidence? How is it possible that he, as a hacker or a cracker or whatever he is, that he never thought about the possibility, that somebody copied that disc? I mean, what purpose does it serve if Dade would give him that disc if there are already dozens of copies of that disc? It doesn't really make sense, and there is no way for Eugene to make sure that this disc has not been copied before Dade gave it back. So then the hackers try to figure out what's on that disc, what is so important about it, and that is when they start to discover, okay, there is that worm that is stealing money. Basically, in a certain way, they had to put a lot of work and effort into, figuring all this stuff out, putting the puzzle pieces together, and really discovering that worm. So basically, if Eugene would have not been so crazy, if he would have just let it go and not demand the disc back, not threaten anybody, not arrest anybody, if none of this would have happened, I think that those hackers would have never discovered that worm because Joey only copied like half of those garbage files because his mother turned off his computer right in the middle of this copying process. And by the way, is that really a thing? Are there really computer monitors that turn negative if you turn them off? Is that really a real thing, or was that just another weird special effect? I don't know, but yeah, maybe none of this. Maybe they would have never discovered this if he would have not been such a dick about it. But yeah, he couldn't know that Joey only copied half of this worm. He couldn't know that. So now at this point, let's talk about the visuals because this is like one of the main things that people criticize about this movie, that it's just so incredibly over the top and so unrealistic. And yes, when it comes to the visuals, when it comes to all those things that are happening on those computer screens, yeah, it is very unrealistic. But let's face it, hacking in real life would look very, very boring. especially to somebody who isn't a hacker or who doesn't really know that much about computers. And let's face it, back in the 90s when this movie came out, there weren't really this many people that even owned a computer with internet access. So, yeah, it was a movie that wasn't really that appealing to a lot of people to begin with, but they tried to make it more appealing. They tried to make hacking look cool and interesting and exciting, and maybe kind of, I don't know, maybe to a certain degree, visualize the things that are going on in a hacker's mind. I don't know. But I still think that this is still the coolest and most entertaining movie about hacking. It's the most entertaining hacker movie there is. I don't know of any other hacker movie that is just as cool and as entertaining to watch, because that's what movies are about. They are entertainment. They have to be entertaining, and it is very entertaining despite all the various different flaws. Another reason why this movie is so incredibly entertaining is, of course, the soundtrack. So at this point, I do have to talk about the soundtrack, or let's say the soundtracks. I'm not sure, but I think, I mean, you could always correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is like the only movie with multiple soundtracks. I mean, there are other movies where you have different kind of soundtracks. For example, Blade Runner. I mean, there are, I assume, dozens of different Blade Runner soundtracks out there. It's always basically just different versions of the same soundtrack, or it's sometimes bootlegs and nothing really official and whatever. But yeah, it's basically one and the same soundtrack, but different versions. But Hackers is a movie that comes with different soundtracks. So let me explain this to you. So you have the songs that are included in the movie, but then you have other songs that might be inspired by the movie, or songs that could have been in the movie because they are just as cool or they fit that certain hacker mentality of some sort, but they weren't included in the movie, but they did include those songs in some soundtracks. So there are actually a total of 4 hacker soundtracks, or hackers soundtracks. So the first one is, of course, the Hacker soundtrack, the original one. Then you have Hackers 2, which is kind of like, which also contains some songs that were included in the movie, but it contains more songs that weren't included in the movie. Then you also have Hackers 3, which contains even more songs that weren't even included in the movie. And then you have the 25th anniversary edition, which is basically like a different version from the first soundtrack. And no, you can't really say, okay, I only get the 25th anniversary edition instead of the first one, because unfortunately, the 25th anniversary edition, it contains some tracks that were previously unreleased, but those are tracks that were included in the movie. Like the music that plays during the hacking scene in the subway station at Ground Central or whatever, or Grand Central Station. But unfortunately, there are some songs missing in the 25th anniversary edition that were included in the first soundtrack. So yeah, you basically really have to get all 4 soundtracks, or at least the first and the 25th anniversary edition, if you really want all the songs that are included in the movie. But I do have to say, all those soundtracks are really great. And even though many of those songs from the second and the third soundtracks weren't included in the movie, but they are really cool songs, and I really like them. So if you like this movie and if you like the original soundtrack, go get the other soundtracks. You won't be disappointed. And yeah, maybe there's something that I have to criticize about one of those soundtracks. One of those soundtracks contained a song that was inspired by the movie. The song is called Hack the Planet by Brooklyn Bounce. And, it kind of reminded me a little bit about Techno Syndrome, that Mortal Kombat theme song, because just like in that Mortal Kombat song, they also mention all the various different names of the various different hackers. But I don't know if that song is racist or not, because correct me if I'm wrong, but to me it seems as if they only mention the names of all the white hackers. Acid Burn, Crash Override, Zero Cool, Plague, and Serial. So, what about all the others? What about Joey? What about Freak? What about Lord Nikon? Or maybe even Razor and Blade? It just doesn't really make sense, especially when you think about the fact that Crash Override and Zero Cool are both the same hacker. So, why not just use one of those names? And Plague, he is the bad guy. So if the song is about Hack the Planet, why mention the bad guy? Kind of a weird thing. And I also really like the fact that they basically throughout the entire movie there are a lot of various different Easter eggs. I mean, for example, we have this virus, which is the Da Vinci virus, and throughout the movie, you can every now and then see images of the Mona Lisa, and there is also a bunch of other different Easter eggs, with names from different hackers or computer people that invented computers. And I'm pretty sure they also call the computer system that they want to hack Gibson because of William Gibson, who basically almost kind of started the whole cyberpunk thing, with his Neuromancer novel. It's really cool. And there is also another thing. Throughout the entire movie, you can always see various different signs with, I would say, hacker quotes of some sort. The first time I noticed this was when they were in the subway, and on the door it said something about information is penetration. And you can't really see what the picture above it says, but apparently it says there is no speed limit on the information superhighway. Then I rewatched the movie again, and sure enough, there are various others. Like, for example, in the first scene where Date is going into the school, next to the payphones, there is also that little sign that says, give me liberty or give me root access, which is something that we can also see later, I think, somewhere during the end of the movie. There is also another one which I couldn't really read that well. I think it said something about Big Brother isn't dead, he is just sub something. I don't know what it said. It didn't look like subconscious. I couldn't really figure that out. Then there was also another one that said trust your tech lust. Yeah, it's really cool. It's a nice little Easter egg. So now let's talk a little bit about Agent Gill. I don't know if he's supposed to be an unlikable character. I mean, it's not that I dislike him, it's just that I feel really incredibly sorry for that character because when you think about it, he's like standing right in the middle of the crossfire between the plague and the hackers. And he's basically like getting it from both sides. I mean, on one side, he's being lied to and kind of misguided by plague, but on the other side, he's being harassed by the hackers. And let's face it, he didn't deserve any of this. He never really did anything wrong. And at this point, let's just talk about like that battle between Acid Burn and Crash Override. So, I mean, they decided to harass Agent Gill. Why? It just doesn't really serve any purpose whatsoever other than revenge. But this revenge isn't even really justified because Agent Gill hasn't done anything wrong. I mean, yes, he arrested a hacker thinking that he was responsible for the virus, which he wasn't, but he didn't have any other informations. So to him, he did the right thing. To a certain degree, that whole harassing Agent Gill kind of thing, it basically shows the main problem with self justice, because that's basically what it is. It's a form of self justice. But here's exactly the problem: there is the risk that you might hurt somebody who didn't even deserve it. I mean, it's always questionable if a person really deserved the things that you did to her, to him or her. But the thing is, there is the possibility that you might hurt somebody or that you might hurt the wrong person simply because you don't have all the informations. And that's basically the case. They didn't know that Agent Gill has been lied to by the plague. They didn't know that. Harassing Agent Gill, it just doesn't serve any purpose. It's not that there is some kind of justice that is being served at this point. It's just downright stupid and childish. So at this point, let's talk about another really, really subtle but also very interesting part of the movie or thing about the movie: the enormous lack of father figures. Seriously, what's up with that? Why does it look as if everybody is living with their mom? Where are all the fathers? I mean, yes, we get to see Date's father at the very beginning of the movie, but only very briefly. And then, his parents broke up and Date decided to live with his mom. Kate, she's also very kind of very fixed on her mom. And to Kate, her mom is like a hero in a certain way. And her mom apparently also seems to hate men in a certain way. Yeah, Kate has kind of took on that same mindset in a certain degree. I mean, we only have to look at the quote that she wrote on the blackboard or the stickers that she has in her locker. So it seems as if she shares the same opinion about man, but then at the same time he's also hanging out or making out with a guy like Curtis, which doesn't really it doesn't really match. Yeah, she seems to be living with her mom. Also, when it comes to Freak and Joey, we also only get to see their mothers. So where are all the fathers in this movie? What happened? It feels as if the filmmakers are trying to tell us something. It feels like some kind of a social commentary, but I don't really know what exactly it is that they are trying to tell us, other than, okay, there are a lot of women that are raising their kids alone. But yeah, that's pretty much as far as it goes. But I feel like there is something that I don't really know what it is that they are trying to tell us. So yeah, all in all, of course, this movie has its flaws, and some things definitely didn't make sense. Some things were highly unrealistic and maybe are still kind of unrealistic, at least from the visual standpoint. But it's just a really amazing and cool and very entertaining movie. And yeah, it might be one of those movies that you either love or hate. Kind of like Demolition Man. Sure, it's like a cheesy action movie, but at the same time, it's very entertaining. And yeah, maybe Hackers to a certain degree is also kind of cheesy, but really highly entertaining. And I really like this movie. So if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. I mean, it is a jewel of the 90s. Let's say it like this. This movie is like pure 90s. That's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope I see you on the next one. Bye.